Ladies and gentlemen, seekers of light and secret knowledge wherever you may be, you are listening to Points of Light Radio, the podcast dedicated to taking you past the apron and behind the closed doors of lodges everywhere. And here is your host, Stan Miller.
Hello, brothers and sisters. Shalom. Assalamu alaikum. I hope your summer has gone well so far. It's been a pleasure fellowshipping with you here on Points of Light Radio over these months, and I'm looking forward to bringing you a lot more insight into the different fraternal organizations that are out there. But in today's segment of Points of Light Radio, I'll be investigating the Guild Companions of the Ark. Here again, I'm hearing you go, who? Okay. Like I keep saying, that's part of what Points of Light Radio is here to do, is to raise the profile of some of these organizations. But to offer you a little bit of insight from what little I've been able to glean about them, the Guild Companions of the Ark started out as an additional or higher order available to members of the Royal Antediluvian Order of Buffaloes, but it only survived for about 21 years. Now, if you recall, we looked at the Royal Antediluvian Order of Buffaloes on June 6th in my June 6th segment. So go back and have a look at that. Now, what I have found out is that Guild Companions of the Ark was heavily influenced by Masonic ritual and protocol. In fact, 3 out of the 5 founders were past masters in Freemasonry. Now, if you recall over the course of my these segments I'm bringing you, that seems to be very common. The Freemasons often started up other fraternal organizations. Prime example that I give you, and here again, if you look back on some of my previous segments, that the Knights of Pythias was also founded by a Freemason named Justice Rathbone. So Freemasons starting up other different organizations, that's quite common, right? Now, the first meeting of the Guild Companions of the Ark was held on Wednesday, October 8th in 1873 at the Coach and Horse opposite the Somerset House in London. This is from their minutes. Now, that's interesting how they talk about across the street from or next to. It's quite interesting how they talk about things like that, right? Now, they do have some degrees. Hopefully, my guest can explain some of that. And my guest tonight, who else would it be tonight, right? But my old friend, Owen Snowdon, is getting to be, we're getting to be part of each other's furniture here, him and I. I love this guy, I really do. And of course, he was the one that brought you the Royal Antediluvian Order of Buffalo segment. So who better than to shed some light on the Guild Companions of the Ark but him? Now, also, when he's done, he has some exciting news for us about a book that he's written. And I can't wait. I honestly can't wait to interview him and hear about this. Sounds very interesting, doesn't it? But are you still searching for the light? Are you still thirsty for knowledge? Then let's just trim our lamps and follow me. Owen Snowdon.
Hello, how are you doing?
Back to Points of Light Radio.
Nice to be back on.
We're getting to be part of the furniture in each other's offices here. I think.
Basically, aye.
This is great. This is wonderful. Well, I mean, and how are things there? I see you're in your little room. They're the.
Oh no, this is just a background.
You were going to
Yeah.
do a tour of that for me, and I was going to.
Yeah, eventually.
Yeah, let's get that done. Okay. But you're a member of a number of fraternal organizations and friendly societies, but you're here today to shed some light on Guild Companions of the Ark, first of all.
Yeah, that's right. I'm going to give a little bit of history on it. There's very little known about this order.
I noticed.
Down to it, I'm going to talk a bit about the history and talk a bit about some of the regalia. Also, later on, talk a bit about my new book I've just published.
Yes, we'll get to that.
And also show a jewel what was based on the book, the Shakespeare 35 Lodge jewel. I'll show you that, which not many people get to see. It's what was one of the oldest lodges in Newcastle.
Okay. Well, first of all, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, like, as I've been on a few times.
Yeah.
I'm sick of this face.
A quick recap.
Well, basically, I'm a member of a lot of different fraternal organisations, from the Masons to the RAOB, which is the Royal Antediluvian Order Buffalo, to the Knights of the Golden Horn, to Oddfellows, all sorts of organisations. I've got a massive fascination for the history of fraternal and Masonic history, such as I run a page called Fraternal Masonic History. I also run a Facebook page as well called Fraternal Masonic History also, and I like to discuss basically the history of these orders and educate people in the general public who may not be too understanding or may understand what their granddad, mother, father, even brothers might have done when they obtained maybe some of their regalia. This website and pages can help families better understand that kind of things. And what's this jewel? Oh, well, on the website it says you got it for donating so much money to a charitable organization, or you done so much long service in the order, or stuff like that, you know, or even a service rendering jewel. He did something heroic. Like, there's a member in one lodge I'm a member of. Supposedly he had actually saved someone's life in the lodge. Supposedly they took very ill, and they actually presented him a jewel for service rendering, saving someone's life. So, you know, they can get jewels from a lot of things. But yeah, I'm also.
This Guild Companions of the Ark, though, how long have you been a member of that?
I'm not a member of the Guild of the Companions. I'm a member of the Knights of the Golden Horn, which is they're not the same, but they're very friendly with each other. To be a member of the Guild of the Companions, you must be either a Freemason, a Freemason, or a member of the RAOB, or a Knight of the Golden Horn. You have to be of one of three, or an all three if you wanted. That is one of the main requirements of joining the Guild Companion of the Orcs.
Okay, well, let's talk about the Guild Companions of the Ark. What have you found out about them?
Well, the Guild of the Companions started out as a higher order available to members of the Royal Antediluvian Order of Buffalo. Unlike the Knights of the Golden Horn, which broke away from the RAOB, it became a sovereign body of its own. The Guild of the Companions, it only survived in the RAOB for 21 years before it sadly came to its demise and went in obscurity and just disappeared. Basically, three of its five main founders of its new organization were actual Masons, with past masters in Masonry as well. Also members of the Knights of the Golden Horn. I have done a few talks on I've done a lecture in a couple of different lodges about how the Guild of the Companions was saved by Masonry and the Knights of the Golden Horn teaming up together to basically save this order, which is it's thriving, but it's not as massive as you would think of an organization should.
Would you say it's slowly making its way back, shall we say?
That's something I don't really know. I'd say it in a way, yes, from what it was, but when there's only like four of their version of lodges, which are called Armenias, there's only like 4 of them in existence at the moment, and it's very northern based in the United Kingdom. It's found nowhere else, I think, in the world. It's only found in the United Kingdom and further north. Basically, the further you go up north, the more these little remnants of the Oriole bee started appearing, such as the golden horn or the Guild of the Companions. Basically, so let's give a little bit of history on the Knights of the Guild of the Companions. The Guild Companions of the Ark. The first meeting of the Guild Companions of the Ark was held on a Wednesday, October 8th, 1873, at the Coach and Horse opposite Somerset House in the Strand, where it was met for some years. The first founders were Bernie Bullock, Michael Burnster, Harland Oxley. Unfortunately, some of this information about these founders is very scarce because a lot of records of the Oriole bee were sadly destroyed in a flood, and not the flood you're thinking of to do with the Ark.
No.
It's a shame, but it happened in Grove House in Harrogate. There was a big flood there long before my time, and a lot of documentation was sadly lost.
But they were heavily influenced by Freemasonry, as I understand.
It has a very big influence by Freemasonry, which I'll soon show you some of their regalia, which is very similar to the Royal Ark and Mariners, which is a side order in Freemasonry. It's basically nearly identical, but it's not, with little aspects. It's also to do with Freemasonry, which I'll show soon. There's actually a couple of jewels, which is the United Grand Lodge of England. Their Grand Lodge Museum actually holds a couple of their jewels. They're very scarce, and only, I think, 2 places own copies of these jewels, which would be the Oriole bee and the Masons. Right. So going back to the history, there was only, at the time, there was only one lodge, the Armenia, or the Armenian Lodge number 1, as it was deemed desirable by the founders to limit its membership. They wanted to make it very exclusive. They wanted to make it so it was like, whoa, he's a member of that. That's quite an invite-only kind of thing, you know. Like, obviously there's invite-only fraternities, but it was seen as very exclusive. And they wanted to keep it that way, so it was, people wanted to obtain it. So basically, as many fraternity societies, the guild changed its venue and its meeting over the years, time and time again. It then met in the Peacock, in Maiden Lane, Covent Gardens, and then at the Ye Savoy Palace, Savoy Street, Strand, and then finally at the Portugal Hotel, Street Fleet. During the nearly 21 years of its existence, a large number of members joined its ranks, but by 1894, the guild, having fallen into decline, was not in its flourishing condition as we assumed, that very shortly after it ceased to exist as a viable organization. So basically, it only lasted 21 years and it just disappeared. So like a lot of things get started up, some side orders get started up, and there's a big drive suddenly, and then as the years go on, members think,
there are many mitigating factors.
Yeah, and eventually...
Did they allow women into their ranks, or do they now?
No, because it was associated with the Oriole bee. The Oriole bee does have a women auxiliary branch, which is the Lady Glades, but that is a complete separate order to the Oriole bee, but it is entwined with it as a women auxiliary branch. Silly as that sounds, some members debate if the Glades are actually part of the Oriole bee, which in fairness, in my eyes, yes, they are, but they're their own governing body, their own self, and supposedly a lot more stricter than the men on their ritual and stuff.
So they have a degree system?
They do have a degree, but I think they only have one. See, this is how scarce this order is. There's only 4 of what we'll call their lodges, which they're not, they're called Armenias. There's only 4 of these in existence, so it's very hard to obtain information on them unless you're from the north of England. Suppose they have 1 degree. I'm really thingy on the degrees because there's very little information you can find publicly on them. So basically, Throughout some of the research, you can find that's now gone, but there was a museum at Grove House in Harrogate run by the RUB. They had a few they had a few of the Guild Companion of the Ark jewels, and also the Masons at Great Queen Street United Grand Lodge of England had a few of them. A few aprons and jewels. I've managed to not find the aprons, photos of the aprons, but there was a few jewels discovered. They were thought to be part of the ancient fraternity of Royal Ark of Mariners, but when they delved in a bit further, they discovered they weren't part of that order. They were their own separate governing order altogether, which was quite an interesting thing. But also going back to how the order was saved, to delve a bit more on that, it was these Masons and Golden Horn members were sitting around a table one day, from what I've been told, of members. They were sitting there and they're thinking, oh, what was that other order? You know, we've got the Golden Horn here now. What was that other order called? The Guild Companion of the Orcs, that was it. And they went, oh, yes. And some members had a few ritual books. Somehow they must have had someone have obtained some, and it says we could try to bring this order back. And they were like, well, we could. And so they all got thinking and plotting around, and they says, right, let's get this order back up and running. So due to the Masons and these members of the Knights of the Golden Horn, they managed to get the Guild Companion of the Ark back up and running. They're, like I say, they're currently 4 Armenians. The Armenians are their version of a lodge, which is quite a...
Where did they get that name?
I don't know. I think it comes from something to do with the Ark.
Okay. And I'm hearing a lot of this lately, that Masons and some of the other... There's that move to bring back some of the esoteric stuff back to their lodges, some of these hidden truths, and also to try to reestablish some appendant bodies or other bodies that have kind of either fallen into decline or resurrect ones that have disappeared completely, like this one. And I'm finding this interesting.
Yeah, I think there's starting to become a bit of a movement in its own sense. I get where you're coming from with bringing all these esoteric orders back from extinction. I think a lot of young people turn away from a lot of their orders and organizations, but there's certain ones which maybe they like the sound of, or they might just twig with them, and they're like, oh, I wish that was still around. Well, what's to stop reforming it and resurging it, you know? And I think a lot of young people also, like myself, have that intrigue of mystery and wondering what certain things meant, certain symbols, ceremonies, ritual, all that stuff represented or what meaning it had behind it. So I think there's that drive and need for it at the current moment. So, which in places like the Philippines, it's flourishing, fraternalism.
Yes, I had heard some interesting theories on that recently too.
Brilliant. The Oddfellows has taken off over there, and the Free Gardeners has taken off over there, it's brilliant. It's good to see that. Sadly, in the Western world, some of these fraternities might be declining, but over there, it's flourishing.
But do you think there are plans to open some more guild companions of the Ark Armenians in other parts of the world? Do you think that
possibly, but possibly not. It's a very small organization. It's like you say, you've got to be a Mason or an RUB brother or a member of the guild.
And based on what you said, I think it was designed to be small. It was designed to be
it was
and I think that's one of the problems with these organizations.
It was designed to be exclusive. So, in its sense, I think the newer version, it was actually founded before these Masons and Golden Horn members got around. It was actually in sometime in 1894. The guild was actually reformed, but it didn't last any long, and there's no documentation of proof of its existence after that. There's no proof of it existing after 1894. It was just someone probably thought, let's try to bring it back, and then they realized how hard it is to bring an organization back from ruin, and they turn around and were like, we'll give up on this, you know, and then it's back in obscurity. If it's all right, I'll just share screen.
Sure, go ahead if you allow.
And I'll show you some of the duels.
Okay. Okay.
There we go. All right, I'll just share screen.
Okay.
You just need to give me permission to do it. There we go.
Did it go?
Now you need to share.
There we go. I think I got it.
No, it says host disabled participant share screening.
Okay. Participants
No,
can
I need to share screen.
now see your screen. Okay. Man. Rift up. Okay. It looks like we're all both on the same screen here. So
Yeah, I need access to the, like, I need to share my screen.
okay, there you go.
Yes.
You got it?
Let's have a check. No, it still says host disabled participant share screening.
Okay. There you go.
Right.
Is it working?
No, it still says host disabled participant share screen sharing.
Okay. Well, meeting controls. Let's have a look. You are screen. Looks like I don't know what's going on here. There we go. Multiples. Can you working?
Yeah, it is now. Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
Right. So, a few of their duels, as you can see, are very Royal Ark Mariner. Of course, you can see just under there, the Guild Companion of the Orcs. Hence why the Masons, it's Freemasonry Hall down London, realised these aren't Royal Ark Mariner. This is some other fraternal organisation. A few other jewels. These ones were also discovered in Freemasonry Hall. So as you can see, some of their jewels are very Royal Ark Mariner style.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Interesting. So, and is that it?
Yeah, that's basically it. There's very few jewels on the out there in existence.
Oh, okay.
They do wear the exact same sash as the Royal Ark Mariners do.
Mm-hmm.
That's about it with their regalia. It's just a jewel and a sash.
Okay. Now, you did say that you wanted to say a few words about your new book that you've written.
My new book is.
What's it called?
It's called The Inner Workings of the Newcastle Shakespeare 35 Lodge. The Newcastle 35 Lodge, which is the jewel here. It's not a very good picture. That is the oldest lodge, one of the oldest lodges in Newcastle.
Okay.
For the REOB. It was founded in the 1800s. I'll just share screen again. So just to give you a little snippet on my book, it's currently an ebook, and this is kind of a snippet. There is a little account from one of two last living members in the book, which is one of my grandfathers, one of the last living brothers of this lodge. The lodge is gone, sadly, as of, I think, 2002. But because there's two living members still, the lodge in their hearts carries on, in my eyes. So I asked basically one of the last living members, which is my grandfather, Brother Thomas Snowdon, Roll of Honour. What was your account of the lodge like? What was it? And he says, this was in his words: the Shakespeare 35 was a great lodge with some great brothers. Yes, the lodge was not a rich lodge, but oh, did I have some good times in it. It was a lot of the members, it struggled financially, but it always kept its head in. But he says he always enjoying time there in that lodge. But yeah, it's my book's basically about it's a full lodge meeting. So as you can see, it would be the opening of the lodge. So it would explain like the whole opening of the lodge to when it was closed, which is quite an interesting thing. As if you scroll down, they don't say, we would say God save the Queen. They say God save our Queen Victoria, gracious Queen. You know, it shows how old this lodge is. It comes back like Victorian times, you know.
Okay.
But yeah, a lot of things go on in the book. They also just shows you an account of when they were suddenly getting rid of a few. They would call them joking kind of collars, which they weren't. They had its own purpose and stuff. They were lodge collars. So like the city barber, the city physician, city mine host, stuff like that. They were getting rid of these collars, and in the book it shows you like how members reacted to that. So at one count, one member goes, no, this is wrong. I've served my collar of office very well. Why are we getting rid of it? Hearsay to what they say, and he gets told like, look, this is the rules of the order. They're trying to formalize it a lot more, and this member gets a bit hot-headed about it. And then further on, they calm down a bit, like all bickering does, and then they start going, well, we need to think of where we're going to go and have a meal or something later. And they were like, well, we'll go to the Fox and Hound or somewhere. And he goes, well, how are we going to get there? By horse and carriage. And then they say at one point, well, no, the food there's too much. And one member references how members of the ROB do like a bit of food once in a while, you know. And there's a lot of little comment.
You really see how people live, right? You really do.
Yeah, it does. It shows like how people from like a social status of like working class, like after they've finished work down the mines or down like let's say wherever they worked, what they would do in their spare time. It's a very good way of showing social history of that period in time. But also there's some very funny bylaws this lodge had. So like members couldn't wear long johns. Don't ask me why, but there was a rule.
How would they know?
No idea. That has me puzzled as well. There's a bylaw so where members may not wear brown shoes, clogs, Wellingtons, you know, or slippers. Like which I've never seen a member turn up to a lodge in clogs.
You never know. But is this your first book?
It is my first book. Yeah, it's about 37 pages long. It's not a very long book, but it's a very good account if you're interested in maybe the social history of the working class, how a lodge operated in Victorian times with the use of through the use of the eyes of the ROB. It also shows you like how the language of the times have changed and stuff, and how strict that was back then and how more lenient it is now. Yeah.
Yeah, well, are there plans to write any more books?
There's current works on a few actually. There's one on the mystic origins of the ROB, which is, as many people know, there's a few ROB historians and members which believe in the ROB is a lot older than even the date we perceive as 1822. We're older than that. Some people think it's proper ancient, where they believe it comes from the ancient Egyptians, because certain banners carry Grand Council, for example, use Horus and Isis the gods of Egypt on their actual banner seal.
Well, what do you think?
There's a lot. The book is also going to delve into like how my theory is. It's might seem pseudo history here, but I believe in the ancient Romans when they came from Egypt, came over the legions. There was bull cults in Rome at the time, and my theory is they got that from ancient Egyptians and brought it over. And as the Roman legions conquered the world, they put these little how can I say, these ideals and ideologies in different aspects around the world, and somehow sometime in history someone managed to understand like what buffaloism is and kind of created an organization, which there has been other orders out there which use the buffalo name, so like the bull societies, the bull club, stuff like that, the Order of the Buffalo, all these organizations. Some of these are very aristocratic and very occultist, because a lot of people think the ROB is just a bunch of guys sitting around getting drunk and raising money for charity. A lot of it in aspects of certain long gone ritual and stuff, they do actually have a lot of symbolic meaning, and a lot of stuff to do with there's a lot of philosophical stuff involved in it, which if anyone's
I think
ever
you'll agree with
interested,
me. We only have estimated dates on a lot of things. Like
yeah,
I was
that's the
talking
thing.
to a Scotsman recently who said Freemasonry probably existed in Scotland before, like, it even showed up in York and stuff like that, where they were there. And I do believe that some of these things were around. We only have written records, but it probably predated that.
It probably does. It probably does. It's all to do with like a lot of people couldn't read or write back then, so there was no way of physically.
Or they never thought to take minutes. They never thought to
exactly.
Look at that.
The oldest records in on churches and stuff, or members like on registries putting an X down instead of their name because symbolically that represent they couldn't write their name. So if the times back then were that like bad where people couldn't write their own name and to sign in at the church and stuff, no wonder we have no records of like these societies. They probably are a lot older than we think. But
and I've heard stuff about, like, for instance, the horse whisperers or the hammermen. People were forming these little guilds and societies long before they ever met in a lodge or wrote anything. They probably met in people's houses and things like that. You know what I mean?
You just like these societies and stuff. There's been societies come and go, but these members, these societies was since the creation of man. There's been like secret societies and organizations like these, like fraternal organizations. There's always been that need for, we need to know this password or secret, and it's exclusive. No one else will get to know, or unless they join us and find out, and stuff like that. There's also been a lot of usage of fraternal orders throughout history to, like, how can I say, not in the aspect of like use of, what's the word? They've had a lot of influence on this world, and the amount of influence it's had, it can't just be modern times or early-ish times. It's ancient. These organizations possibly do originate from some ancient fraternities over the years, have changed name, died out, someone's rekindled it, and that's my theory on it. I generally believe these orders are older than we make out.
See, now you got to start writing this stuff down. You got to start writing some more books about this stuff. Right, and you got to do a video about that
Oh, my collection
you have there, and a description, and I will definitely paste it or put it into a video form here, because I'd love to do that. I'd love to see what you got there. I mean, it looks
that's fine.
Just what you're saying. It looks exciting.
I've collected things. See, a lot of these items behind me are used in my Fraternal Masonic History pages, website, and stuff like that. It's even down to an apron. There's just a lot of the aprons. I tell people and explain to people what they mean, not revealing no password signs or anything. It just explaining to the general public what things are, because people need people always wonder, well, what was that club brand I used to go run off to, and you had that funny apron or sash or something. We never talked about it. Well, it kind of gives people that bit of family history they didn't know about.
But you say you're not a member of the Guild Companions of the Ark. Do you plan to join? I mean, you've
Hopefully one day. One day. I have been invited to it, but there's only so much I can do, and so much.
Yeah. You're finally saying
I would join everything under the sun, but it's time. That's the most precious commodity, and people have on this earth is time. And we've only got so much of it.
All right. Well, I appreciate your time tonight, Mr. Snowdon, and we'll definitely have to have you back. Definitely take some take a video of that museum of yours, and we'll definitely have you back again.
Great.
Thank you, sir. Have yourself a great day over there.
You too.
Don't you just love having him on here? I mean, isn't that fun? It's like an encyclopedia of, I always say this, of fraternal knowledge with that guy. It's a lot of fun. And that book sounds exciting. It really does. It looks really exciting. And we'll definitely have to, he keeps talking about putting together a video of his fraternal museum that he kind of runs there. I'd love to see that. I really would. I keep saying we're going to have to, and we'll definitely have to have him on here. I've already talked to him about putting in another appearance about another fraternal organization he belongs to. So it was great. And it was also interesting to learn about the Guild Companions of the Ark, wasn't it? Have you ever heard of them? Right. I hadn't until I reached out to Mr. Snowdon. So we'll definitely, and I'm not done, just FYI, I'm not done on the Guild Companions of the Ark. I will definitely be having, there is another guest I've lined up in the very near future, a member of the Guild Companions of the Ark, who will be shedding, shall we say, further light on the organization. But I'm afraid that's all I have time for today. Before I go, I want to remind you that this podcast is available on both YouTube and Spreaker. Please share, like, and subscribe when viewing Points of Light Radio on YouTube. You can follow Points of Light Radio on my Facebook page at facebook.com/Points of Light Radio. My Twitter handle is @POLightRadio. You can see the link to my Spotify channel. You can also see the link to my Points of Light Radio store. I also want to point out that Points of Light Radio is available to advertise your fraternal lodge or event. You can see the link if you go on my Facebook page where you can get in touch with me. But brothers and sisters, it's been a pleasure fellowshipping with you today. But until we meet again, just step into the light.